And where was your all's farm?
Well, and now let's go back
Okay.
to Minor Henry.
Okay.
Okay, so, and this was beautiful. I learned a lot about this, but here's what happened. Minor Henry Gordon would do things like buy a piece of land, and when a payment came due, he'd doctor a little bit, and then he'd buy another piece of land when the payment came due. Well, my grandfather at one time owned all the land that is now Lake Oologah. And what he did was, in order to pay for it, he bought hogs and put them on the property. Because hogs are prolific, right? And the hogs can live on nothing. And he thought, well, these hogs will grow and breed, and I'll sell them. Well, the hogs got the cholera, and they all died.
Oh my.
And this is something that my dad talked to me about. He said, son, our land was sold on the courthouse steps for taxes. And he said, when you have that happen, it puts a stain on you. It puts it to see that land go away. And so another story about my grandfather. OMA had a very significant football team at that time, years ago. And so some gentleman of note in Claremore liked to go to the football game. And because my grandfather played football in medical school, he liked going to the football games. So I think there was an attorney named Tom Kite.
Okay.
And my grandfather and Tom Kite and a couple other gentlemen from Claremore decided they'd go to a football game, and it was cold. And so they had a bottle they were passing around to stave off the cold. So the bottle's going back and forth and back and forth. And it gets down to my grandfather, and he drains the bottle. And Tom Kite said, Minor, you know, that's all the whiskey we had. And my grandfather turned to him and said, well, that's all I wanted. So he was that way, you know. So when he died prematurely, because when my dad came home from OU, and he told me, he said, you know, son, I came home and I knew my dad was dying. I knew he was dying. So, but he gave me one more chance, and that's the reason he really applied himself at the University of Arkansas. And when he died, well, let's go back. We need to set the stage here a minute. My grandfather back then was a distributor of pharmaceuticals. They didn't have pharmacists or druggists. If the doctor had, and I think my daughter has his license, and it says like, you know, laudanum, cocaine, marijuana, you know, it had all these. And so there was a guy in Claremore who got busted. And the law enforcement people said, where are you getting your drugs? If you'll tell us where you're getting these drugs, we'll let you go. And so what they did was they gave this guy a marked $2 bill. And he went up to my granddad's office, which is over the drugstore, as you know, and he bought some drugs. And he leaves. Well, then they walk in and say, let's see the $2 bill. And he got popped.
Wow.
And so it was devastating that their father was thrown in jail. But apparently doctors were at a premium back then. And so they said, okay, we're going to let you loose, but you can't write any more prescriptions. So on, so on, so forth. And so he went to Arkansas, and he got a pharmacist to come to Claremore who would write the scripts for him. And I think that's that man in the picture with him.
Oh, okay.
I think that's him, because he was a slight man. I think that was Mr. Shawner.
Okay.
I think that is, but I'm not sure. So anyway, so he dies in 35, and after everything's over, Mr. Shawner goes to my grandmother, and he says, you know, you owe me $500.